So welcome back to another episode, and welcome to an episode on some video games that I suck at. Yeah, some games that I'm not very good at, some games I may have aspired to be good at, but most often failed at, and I played a lot of video games over the years. I haven't been great at all of them, but I've enjoyed all of them, that is for sure. I will ask you guys, what are some video games or video game series that you try to get into and you just find that you're not very good at it? It's just one of those things. It's not a bad thing to be not good at a game. It's just maybe not your thing. We can't be great at everything. What are some games that you suck at? Let me know down below. We'll all have a laugh together for sure. And my first choice is a very, very funny one for me because this is like the polar opposite of another friend of mine who comes on the show once in a while, and that is my friend Rob, man. His favorite series of all time is Mega Man. He's great at it. He's awesome at it. He practiced at it for years. And for me, it was Tuesday. I have never been great at the Mega Man games. I've always liked them all. I love the idea of, turning into the different robots using their different abilities and different levels. I like it, but in the execution, not so good. I think in retrospect, the only Mega Man games I've ever finished were Mega Man 2 on the NES and Mega Man X1. And both of those were a challenge for me. And I like platformers, but for some reason, the Mega Man games really just pushed it over for me. Especially Mega Man 1 did me under, and I just was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And Rob has always been the Mega Man guy to come on the show and talk about that. And I've always appreciated his love for the series, but it's one of those games that I can't get into the flow of it and become better at it. And I find myself getting more frustrated, and I just give up. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to be good at this anymore. I'm just mad at the game because I'm not taking the time, right? So it is my fault that I'm not good at Mega Man. If I practiced every day, I'm sure I'd be great at it, like any game. And I think my level of interest on it was just like, no, a little bit waning. What do you guys think of the Mega Man series, the Rockman series in Japan? Do they frustrate you? Do they drive you crazy? They do for me. Okay, I think a lot of you will be able to sympathize with this one. Online shooters. Not the side view action shooters from the 80s and 90s, not those games. I'm talking about first person online shooters. Oh my god, I've had such a terrible time with these over the years, and I'm somebody who likes the genre quite a lot. I love it. I like the one player version of those games, but whenever I go online, it's a bloody murder bath for me, man. I'm always like near the bottom of an online game. I'm always like, oh my god. Yeah, of course, like a lot of you, sometimes I do pretty good, and then but most times I'm kind of like down here. I can't compete against 14-year-old kids that have memorized those levels and lived those levels, and I think it's great that they do. That's so much fun to do that. But for me, I get in there and I'm like trying to take people down, and all of a sudden people are like sniping me from here. I'm already dead, and I'm like, what happened? And I remember even at work years ago, there was a lot of us playing Gears of War, the original Gears of War, and there were some people that always did so well, and for me, I was always the bottom, and I'm like, maybe it's my internet speeds, and over the years I've upped my internet speeds, but online shooters are just death for me. I go in, I get you, I'm dead. I'm dead, and then at the end, I'm always embarrassed at the end. I'm like, oh, there's me at the bottom, and I have no problem admitting that I'm not great at them. I like the one-player version of those games, especially for the storyline on that, but when I get into a room full of people, it's me getting headshotted first, every single time. Next up is a beloved series of mine. It's world-renowned, admired by most, and feared by many, including myself, the Dark Souls games. I have done really well and really terrible, and I think that's the way the games are designed. I get frustrated more than I do well in the games, and I hate it because I get so far in, and then I do something stupid, and I'm like, oh my god, I've got to get all the way back there to that same spot, and that's the bit that kind of frustrates me a bit, because I've done it, and man, I rage quit Elden Ring quite a few times when I would like get all my stuff and lose it all by jumping down to a ledge that I thought was fine, and I lost, and then I go back and I jump, I'm like, oh no, I can jump down, and I lose all this stuff again. That stuff drives me crazy, and I love the world building, the Gothic style, everything in these games so much, but I just seem to have such a hard time where I look at other people and they're like, oh, these games are easy, and I'm like, they're not easy for me. And it's one of those things that's frustrating as a game player, that you're looking at other people who are doing really well in the game, and you're jealous. You're like, why can't I be as good as that guy? You know? And you aspire to it, and you can't quite get there. And the Dark Souls games are games, though, that I keep coming back to, and I keep getting further and further in every time. But man, the toll it's taken on my brain, and they just make me feel that I suck all the time at them. And but I always go back to them. I can never give them up. They're one of those things that are so addicting, you have to come back to. It's like a dog always going back to his master who beats him. The dog should know better, but you gotta go back, and that's exactly what Dark Souls is for me. Okay, this is one that I really want to talk about, and it's a fascinating one because I've been there since the very beginning of this franchise, even the first game. And the franchise realistically began with the second game, and that is Street Fighter. Street Fighter 2, you'll always say, right? And you never say, oh my god, Street Fighter 1 is where it all began. That was in the arcades, but Street Fighter 2 was a game that blew my mind and became my obsession when I was 15, 16, 17, and up to now. It's become an obsession of mine. I would memorize every single move of every character. I would go into the arcades every day and practice. And did I become great at Street Fighter 2? Yes, I became great at Street Fighter 2. Not good, great at it. I prided myself on it. It was everything to me. And I never want to lose. And in my top tier days in Street Fighter 2, never lost. Never lost. And I played some of the best players in Las Vegas at that time, and I remember them throwing stink bombs down to the machine to get me on it because I was there all day and nobody could beat me. I understood the science of that game down to an incredible degree. And then obviously we got so many more Street Fighters over the years, and I kept up and I kept up and I kept up and I kept up. And then we hit a small game, Street Fighter 4. And Street Fighter 4 introduced a whole brand new set of mechanics within the game. And that's when I knew that, and it's okay to know this. It's okay to know this. It's kind of like a player realizing that their top game in that game series was here. And all of a sudden Street Fighter 4 kicked in, and it started becoming very, very complicated to know every single move by every character. I'd done it for so long, for so many years, that when we got to Street Fighter 4, I said something that was extraordinary for me because I was so competitive with Street Fighter. It was crazy with all of them up to that point. I said I was a retired Street Fighter player because I was playing against friends of mine at work, online, and I was realizing that I was like 50-50 in it. Most times 50% of the time I'd do well, 50% of the time I wouldn't do well, and I was like, man. And I was practicing, and I realized I'm like, you know, I think I'm at that level where I can say I'm a retired Street Fighter player and I'm just playing for fun now. I'm not playing for competition anymore because I don't think I can compete the way I used to. And I held Street Fighter to such a degree that either I felt like I would compete hardcore or I'd just be a player. And now I'm just a player and I just enjoy the games for what they are. And Street Fighter 5 came out and I enjoyed it as a player. Very much retired on that game for sure as well. Street Fighter 6 is coming up. And you know what? I'm going to jump into it, give it the old college try. But I think my days of being a Street Fighter god at the time, and I was at one time, I ain't anymore, and it's okay. It's okay. My ego is a bit bruised by it all because of my competitive nature, but I've come to realize where I am in my life and where Street Fighter was, and what a glorious golden time Street Fighter 2 and Alpha 2 and all that series was for me at that time. A very glowing part of my youth. Into my 20s, and I loved those games and adored them, even into my 30s. But now you got to know when to call it, when to put up the white flag and say, okay, I hit the peak of my Street Fighter-ness. I'm okay with that. Now, this is a funny one. This is a really funny one for me. This is one of those things that's like, I like this, I just can't do it. And it seems that the universe is against me. The universe is just saying, no, everything that you will do will be wrong and you will never be good at these games. And I don't understand it. And some of my friends, this is their biggest hobby in the world to them. And these were a big thing for me even when I grew up. Pinball machines. And it doesn't matter if I play pinball in an alleyway somewhere, in an arcade, or I play a home console version of a pinball game. I just can't get with the program. I don't, it's almost like magic to me, people who are really good at pinball. I don't understand it. If I understood it, I'd be better. And people have explained it to me, but it doesn't sink in, and I never seem to do well at pinball. It's just one of those things. I go in to an arcade, put a quarter in, I play for a little bit, like a couple of minutes, and I'm done. It's like, oh, I lost my ball, okay. I don't know how some people rack up the points and the points and the points and the points and all of that, and they're really, really good at pinball. That is something that I am no good at. And I really like pinball games. I've loved some of the games, like looking at them over the years. I'm jealous of some of the pinball games people have in their collections. But for me, and Kim, my wife, loves pinball. She thinks it's so great. I think she's a little better at it than I am. But it's one of those things, no matter how many people tell me, no matter how many things I watch, I can't get it. And it's one of those strange things. We're not all good at everything, right? And I know my weaknesses. Pinball is one of those things. But it's one of those things I always will go and play in my arcade. I'm like, okay, got to play some pinball today. I got to do that. And I start playing it and I'm like, oh, that was novel. and I've loved some of the pinball games on home consoles, like Devil's Crush is a classic. It's a classic. I used to play that over and over and over again, Very cool, based on like a H.R. Giger style of look, and I love that. But, and some of my friends back then who owned the game, they were having these massive scores, and I'm like, I can't kind of get there. It's one of those funny things, isn't it? Like, we all try to aspire to be great at everything in life. And I'm here to say, it's okay not to be great at every single video game. That's normal. That's completely normal. I know people that don't understand RPGs, that can't get into them, and that's my lifeblood, man. I know RPGs inside and out. That's what I grew up on, and it's one of my passions, but not everybody's gonna get it, not everybody's gonna like it, and not everybody is good at Street Fighter 2. Where I am, and not everybody is good as Super Ghouls and Ghosts and the original Ghouls and Ghosts, which I'm very, very good at. Those games I grew up on, I practiced on. So for all the games that I'm not good at, there's a ton that I am really good at, that I'm proud to be good at, because also I want to be good at some of those games because I really adored and loved them. And some of them I tried to adore and love, but they don't love me. They don't love me, and they just love beating me down and all of that. So guys, I will ask you down below, what are some games or some game series that you suck at, you tried to get good at, you tried everything you could to be better at, but you just couldn't get with the program? Those games exist for us all, and it's always normal, and I never gatekeep anybody from a game series or anything like that. If they can't get into it from one game, I'm always like, you know what, come in and at least try and try to have a little bit of fun, because that's what gaming really is all about, trying to have a little bit of fun. That's for sure. So anyways, guys, until next time.